Here's their stock pickup. Today I'm going to show you a really simple way to turn those cheap single coils into something that actually sounds pretty good. All we're doing is swapping out those steel pole pieces for real Alnico slugs, and there's no fancy tools, rewinding, anything like that. It's something that pretty much anyone can do, so let's have a look at what we need. So what we're going to need today, first you're going to need one of those cheap single coils with steel pole pieces, you know, the ones with the bar magnet on the back. That's a good giveaway. Then you're going to need a set of 6 Alnico slugs. These come in a 0.87 or a 0.95 diameter. Make sure you measure them. Now if you get some different lengths, you can come up with your own custom vintage stagger. Then you'll just need a small hammer and a bit of glue, and that's pretty much it. Okay, let's get straight into it. Now first we have to remove that bar magnet off the back. Now these cheap pickups have a ceramic bar magnet glued to the bottom. You just need to pry it off with a screwdriver. They usually come off pretty easily. Next we need to push out those steel pole pieces. So flip it over and support the bobbin and tap those pole pieces out one by one. Don't go full crazy caveman on this. Just a couple of little tippity taps and they pop out, and then normally you can just pull them out with your fingers. Next we're going to install those Alnico slugs. Now often they'll come with a taper on one end. That's the end that goes in first, so whether you want to push it in from the top or from the bottom, I like pushing from the bottom, and just tap them in gently with the hammer, or you can actually probably just push them in by hand. They do go in quite nice by hand, but they are a little snug. Instead of having a single bar magnet going across all those slugs, now each slug is its own magnet, just like all the best single coils. Next I'm just going to add a tiny amount of this water thin super glue to the bottom of this pickup. So this is just going to lock those Alnico magnets into place and make sure they don't fall out. I mean, you don't actually have to do this step, but it definitely helps. Next you're going to need a couple of strong neo magnets. Now I've got 2 of these from Stu Mac, and then you need to work out the polarity. So I often use this. It's a pickup polarity tester, and you can sort of see when it's pushing against that magnet there, it goes white for north and it changes to black for south. But you don't need one of those actually. You can just grab an app. So there's this free app you can get, this one here, and it will tell me which way the magnet is by just what's facing it. Normally you got to face the screen side like this. Just be careful with these Neos. They can really damage stuff if you're a bit silly with them, but they're pretty cheap. You could probably just pick up a couple from Bunnings or one of those hardware stores and they'd still do the job, because it's just single coils we're dealing with. It's pretty easy to charge these up. So 2 of these, and then we're going to get these in the vise and I'll show you that next step. Right, so I've got these Neos in my vise here now. So I've got one on this side and one on this side. I've got north on this side and south on this side. So I want this coil here to be south side up. So I've got to put the side I want to be south against the north polarity on one of these magnets here. So basically the opposite, because opposites attract, you know. So I'm going to get this in this vise, and you get it so it's sort of snug. Now some people go up and down this way. I tend to go this way. I've actually got some big massive Neos that I've been using to charge up these just by touching and then releasing. But this is how I used to do it. And then pull it out. You probably want to do that a dozen or so times, and then that'll be done. These will be charged now. I quite like these magnets because they don't overcharge. If you overcharge, you get like a real spiky sort of tone. The other thing you want to know too is that it does take like a few hours for this to sort of settle down. So if you're putting this straight in your guitar, it might sound a little spiky as well. But just give it a day or so and you find they sort of do settle down. These magnets sort of lose a little bit of their hypercharge once they're charged up fully. Right, so one last thing I like to do is use my Gauss meter here on my pickup winder just to triple check the magnetic strength. So I normally see around 1200, say it's 1300, that's going to drop from there. But I'd go through and I'll check all these pole pieces along just to make sure they're fully charged up or all pretty even. But honestly, generally, if you run it through a bunch of times, they're all going to come out pretty even anyway. Okay, so I did check it on my Gauss meter here, but we can just check the polarity. I can use my little tool here, or you can just use this machine here. So if I hold the pickup towards the screen, south pole, north, south. So I've got my south side up. Perfect. Okay, so let's chuck a cover on. I think I had this one on last time, but I think I'll pop the white one on now just so we know which one is which during playback. Let's put it back in the guitar and see what it sounds like. Right, let's do a quick comparison now. Here is the stock pickup. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably got a drawer full of these pickups, and just changing the magnets out gives the pickup a whole new life. So definitely worth trying. You'll be really surprised with some of the results. So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments anyway. Let me know how it goes for you, and we'll catch you in the next video.